Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Ms. TV Total Football. The biggest topic right now that is getting talked about in the footballing arena is in regards to Ruben Amorim. Man United have started the season in a rocky fashion once again, the way they left off last season. It seems like their fortunes haven't changed much this season. Now, I know there's a lot of other transfer news that's getting talked about and, a whole heap of madness that's happening on a regular basis, but we want to talk about serious footballing matters. The season has kicked off, and some of the stats that I'm seeing in regards to Ruben Amorim, I have to say, I'm shocked. I'm really, really shocked. And I understand it's not all his fault. All right, this is what I want to talk about. I want to deeply talk about this situation. Is Ruben Amorim a numpty? Is he just simply not good enough? Like, I find it very strange. Honestly, I find it very strange that how is a manager who is doing so well at Sporting Club de Portugal, known as Sporting Lisbon previously, how's a manager that has done supremely well in that football club, winning titles when Sporting, they didn't win that many titles prior to Ruben Amorim joining, doing well in the European stages as well. They've beaten some top teams, most recently Manchester City, but then you can turn around and say, well, everyone beats Manchester City in recent times, right? Last season especially, and Sporting did beat Manchester City last season, but I find it very difficult to believe that that manager who has done that type of work for Sporting in Portugal and winning titles is all of a sudden come to Man United and he's made to look like a novice. He's made to look like a rookie. Um, I I find it very difficult to accept that. I really do, because with Man United, even Eric Ten Hag, prior to joining Man United, a lot of people were praising him at Ajax and the work that he was doing there. If you guys remember what Ajax got up to in the Champions League, with Eric Ten Hag, I know ultimately they got knocked out by Spurs, but that Ajax team in the Champions League was something else. Was something else. And then you bring in Eric Ten Hag to Man United, and all of a sudden, he's not a manager. And now it seems like Eric Ten Hag is damaged goods. Is Ruben Amorim really a bad manager, or is the situation at Man United bad? Or can both of them be true? How's Man United started this season playing fairly well against Arsenal, and it's turned out to be a bit of a joke now. Everyone's laughing at it. Man United have become that type of a club that seems to appreciate the performance but not the result. Much like what we used to do not that long ago at Chelsea Football Club, that, yeah, we played good, very happy with the performance, but we lost, started to accept losing. And if you remember Jose Mourinho, once you start accepting losses or accepting losing, you're not a big club anymore. And it seems like this is something that's happening. Now, I want to talk about this deeper before I look through some of these social media shenanigans that's happening. Man United, for the longest period of time, they've been a toxic club, right? The culture in that club, it's been foul for at least, I'd say, good nearly 12, 13 years. Since Alex Ferguson left, yeah, they won trophies here and there, of course, but nothing major. During that time frame, I feel like a lot of the players started to forget what Man United truly meant. If you remember the players under Sir Alex Ferguson, they had discipline, they had character. There was just this animalistic nature about that team, just ruthlessness. The only thing they knew about was winning. Now post Sir Alex Ferguson, you started to see players that think they're too big for the club, that have all of these bling blings, and ultimately they actually have no personality, absolutely zero level of quality on field. There's been many players like that. They've lost the discipline. They've lost that animalistic, that aggression of winning and winning and winning. And they've made some very, very bad decisions when it came to recruitment. On top of that, some poor financial decisions as well by paying them a lot of money. All of that has culminated to a toxic environment to where it is right now. It was getting very toxic even prior to Eric Ten Hag, even under Jose Mourinho, and also under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Yeah, there was a little bit of moment of happiness under Solskjaer, maybe, just maybe a little bit, but then that turned toxic as well. Under Eric Ten Hag as well, it was very toxic. They did end up winning the FA Cup under Eric Ten Hag, but still very, very toxic. I think prior to that, they won the Carabao Cup as well under Eric Ten Hag. Then Amorim came in, and it's been utterly pathetic. It really has. The man has failed to embed any type of philosophy, any type of ideology. And I find it very strange because this man was all about the ideology and philosophy when he was at Sporting. His Sporting team was excellent to watch, the way they used to play out from the back, the way he used to press, the way they used to move the ball, the way they used to attack, lots of combinations. But all of a sudden, like, he's now been around a while. He's played 30 matches he's managed 30 matches for Man United. And it seems like Man United, even till today, have the same problems. Now, look, there's some glaring issues in their recruitment. Yeah, they've bolstered in their attack. They've got in Cunha, they've got in Sesko, they've got in Mbeumo, and that's fantastic. But there's some distinct issues in their midfield which they haven't addressed. And this is why I'm like, do you know what? Is it fair to judge Amrim knowing that there's so many flaws still in the team? Now, let's have a look at some of these flaws, right? This is the team that was put up against Fulham. And obviously, we all know the running joke that's happening in regards to Bruno Fernandes missing that penalty, and the ball is still flying. Lots of people doing jokes about that. Some people showing, oh, the ball just landed in my garden and the ball just crashed into my window, this, that, the other. Obviously, Bruno Fernandes, not good. And post-match, Ruben Amorim talking about Bruno Fernandes the way he did that, he must have got really rattled or nervous after missing that penalty because he was just not the same player. And that in itself, I find it so strange that how's an experienced player like Bruno Fernandes can't seem to shake off missing a penalty. I mean, missing a penalty can happen. You need to snap out and drive your team. You're the captain. But the problem, as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, straight away, goalkeeper is a huge problem. Bayendia, I don't think he's quality enough. Their backline is not that bad, to be honest. Luke Shaw is still playing in 2025. That's probably a problem. But De Ligt, Euro, these are good players, good defenders. Dogu is their new signing last season in the January. So you got to give it time. But look at this midfield. Bruno Fernandes, Casemiro, and Mason Mount in that position, or wherever he is, even as a number, somewhere in midfield. This trio, Mount, Fernandes, and Casemiro. Ahmad, look, I think there's a lot of quality. And actually, I don't even mind Ahmad being a wingback. I think he works hard. Attackingly, he's got a lot of flair, and defensively, he actually works hard. But this trio that you see, Casemiro, Fernandes, and Mount, like, when you look at some of the midfielders, and I'm not saying Mount is a midfielder, he's playing as an inside forward, but still, I'm sure he's probably occupying some spaces in midfield. When you look at that, Casemiro, Fernandes, and Mount, like, there are some top midfielders in the Premier League, and you're coming up against Mount, Fernandes, and Casemiro more times than none. You are going to lose that battle with that trio. On the other side, if you look at Fulham, Sander Berge, Lukic, I'm sure King drops in. Ayobi definitely helps out in midfield like that. Already you can see this midfield, you know that they're going to run and they're going to hustle and they're going to be a lot more physical than Casemiro, Fernandes. Like Bruno Fernandes, that's just not hit. That's not a right position. This, to be honest, this system of three at the back and wing back football that Amorim plays, I feel like Bruno Fernandes doesn't fit. Mason Mount is actually playing in the right spot because this is where he played for Thomas Tuchel. Thomas Tuchel had a same or a similar setup. But Bruno Fernandes and Casemiro just simply does not have the legs anymore. Just simply doesn't have the legs. And Bruno Fernandes just is not a midfielder that's going to be able to cover a lot of ground. And Bruno Fernandes himself is way too reckless with his passing. Gives away the ball way too many times, which reduces your team's effort in keeping the ball. But you just quickly turn that around and give the ball away to the opposition, and that doesn't help. The more you keep the ball, the better it is. But that midfield, ladies and gentlemen, that's not going to stack up against anyone in the Premier League. This midfield is seriously relegation worthy. Casemiro, not good enough anymore for the Premier League, and Bruno Fernandes just simply doesn't belong there. Now, let's check out some of these crazy stats that's been going around. And some of these are mad stuff, man. I'm just, as I said, I'm just quite shocked that a manager like Ruben Amorim has some of these stats. 24.1%. Ruben Amorim now has a Premier League win percentage of 24.1. 7 wins in 29 games. I mean, look, there's question marks about Kobe Minu as well. Like, could Ruben Amorim do better? We just saw that lineup. Could he do better with what he has? When you think about this setup, right? Going back to this, when you think about this setup, surely he's got to be able to bring in Mount sometimes in midfield, maybe get Ahmad to come in and then have Dogu as a left back, Shaw and De Ligt in the middle, Euro. Like, you got to make shift. You can't just simply carry on with the three. You've got to get the wing backs to maybe tuck in a little bit at times, because in the Premier League, with those two midfielders who are not robust, you're going to get outdone. So can you adapt? Can you maneuver something else? I just find it very, very strange, man. I really do. 7 wins in 29. The exact same percentage as Neil Warnock won 27 of 112 games. That is embarrassing. Neil Warnock, who was twice relegated from the Premier League, worried. This is relegation. This really is relegation form from Ruben Amorim. And, I've been an advocate for him. I've been saying that, that he's a good manager. He really is. But these stats, they are probably not acceptable, man. There's a level, there's a standard that you've got to maintain when you're managing a club like Man United. And this is not the standard. I get it. Like, what are you going to do? You're going to sack him? You've sacked Eric Ten Hag. You're going to sack this guy as well. You're going to bring another guy in. You're going to keep sacking. There are other issues, as we said. But have they got the right person? I've said recently, Oliver Glasner, who plays a similar system, but maybe Glasner gets a better tune out of this Man United team. Surely, you look at what the madness Glasner's doing with Crystal Palace. Punching above the weight. Big time. Could he not do better? Could perhaps someone like the Bournemouth manager, Areola, could he not do better? Should they have gone for someone like Thomas Frank from Brentford when he was there? Now he's at Spurs. Look at this. Wins in the first 30 Premier League games. Ten Hag 18. Amorim 7. Amorim's worse than Ten Hag. That's crazy. And look, I know it's tough. I know there's a lot of adversities in the Man United squad, in the Man United setup, that institution. I get it. From the ownership to Sir Jim Ratcliffe and all the shenanigans. But this is wild. This really is wild. Ruben Amorim has managed more games than points collected with Man United. That's mad. These stats are 29 games and 28 points. I get it. I honestly do why Man United fans are fed up and certain parts are talking about, sacking him because, yeah, sure, he might be a good speaker and whatnot, but ultimately you need points. You need points. Why can't you get the best out of this Man United team? Get something because 29 games and 28 points, that's embarrassing. I don't even think Man United fans are saying out of 29 games, give me 29 wins, but I don't even think that's half. 29 games. Let me just do the maths. Let's just say 29 games divided by 2.5 times that by 3. Even if you won half the games, you're looking at about 40, 43, 44 points. You're not even winning half the games, man. Which is insane, which really is insane for a club like Man United. Ruben Amorim, last 28 games, 14 losses, 30 goals, 45 goals conceded. Worst manager ever versus Mr. Amorim. He will bring the glory days back. Wow, he's getting compared with Gary Neville when he was the manager at Valencia. Should Man United fans be worried about Ruben Amorim? Let's check this out. This is actually quite interesting from Cams. And I think it's prudent we listen up on this. All right, let's check this out, guys.
Premier League matches on 7 wins Man United have in 30 Premier League matches on Amorim. Guys, we have to stop saying this is a new manager. 30 games, that's almost a full Premier League season. 7 wins. That's the type of stuff that you hear from a relegation manager. We just signed Cunha, Sesko, and Bumu. How long until they're being called Man United flops? We would not know that was a £220 million strike force that just got assembled. Do you know what I mean? We've been figured out. It's match day 2 of the Premier League. We've been figured out by Fulham. What's going to happen when we got Chelsea? We got City soon. Liverpool. What's going to happen? Oh, but guess what? We won the league last week because we played well and lost versus Arsenal. We won the league though, innit? Back to reality, bro.
Do you know what? Cams is spitting a lot of facts. He really is. I mean, almost a season played, and it doesn't seem like it's getting better. And the crazy thing is, it seems like Man United, for some reason, when when they come up against teams like Arsenal or Liverpool or so on and so forth, maybe not Liverpool, they get smacked up by Liverpool, but Arsenal, let's just say, they seem to rise, and then Fulham, they can't rise. And it's crazy. I actually thought they'd beat Fulham. I thought off the back of that performance against Arsenal that, you know what, this season maybe they're going to change. Maybe they're not going to allow it to happen like last season. But at this rate, 1 point out of the first 2 games, and their next game, I believe, is Burnley. They should win, but you never know. Like, who can they beat? And then after that, I think they've got City. And straight after that, they've got Chelsea, us. They could be in deep trouble. Deep trouble. The amount of games it took each Big Six manager to win 2 consecutive Premier League for the new clubs. Arne Slot, 2 games. Pep Guardiola, 2 games. Thomas Frank, 2 games. Enzo Maresca, 5 games. Mikel Arteta, 9 games. Ruben Amorim, 29 games and still trying. He hasn't won a back-to-back match. Incredible. Check this out. I found this amazing. Said said it was as simple as that. This was off the back of what Marco Silva had to say about Man United. We knew how they defend, and we know they like to squeeze from the back 5. And if you don't give bodies for them to squeeze from the back 5, you can create superiority in the middle. We know they play with 2 in the middle. We tried to overload with our 3 plus Alex. It was as simple as that. It was as simple as like Marco Silva is saying they play with the back 5 and they want to make sure that they squeeze the players in. But if you don't let them squeeze the bodies and most of their players are in midfield, then they dominate the midfield because it's Casemiro and Bruno Fernandes, and from there they create chaos. They dominate the midfield, and then they pick out the gaps in between because Man United are unable to squeeze with the back five because there's no bodies to squeeze. Incredible. And I find it strange that Ruben Amorim, how are you not adapting? How are you not adapting? Ladies and gentlemen, let me know your thoughts. Crazy, crazy situation. If this is how it continues for Ruben Amorim, it might be lights out. And then we might have to think that, is he really, really a top-level elite manager? I still think he is. I still rate him, but some of these stats that we just saw, yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. Ladies and gentlemen, let me know your thoughts, especially the Man United fans. Let me know your thoughts about Ruben Amorim. Are you out? Are you in? What's going on? Smash up the like button if you're here for the first time. Subscribe. Hit the bell notification to stay in touch with all my content. Till next time, take care. See ya.